Will now begin. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Bobby, if you can call the roll.
Commissioner Dean Hazelhorst.
Present.
Chair Butch Schleier.
Present.
Commissioner Neil Younger.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Order of business, I believe we'll have 2 executive sessions this evening, and there's no changes to the agenda. Commissioners, prior minutes, did you have a chance to read prior minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any changes or?
No.
Then the minutes stand as submitted. Consent agenda, do I hear a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through G.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Any issues from persons not on the order of business? Doesn't look like it. Okay. The monthly financial report. Commissioners, did you have a chance to review it?
Everything looks
Concerns? Okay. Employee promotions. Jackie.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Hi.
Good evening.
Danita Schrader, Interim Director with Ellis County EMS. Tonight I have 2 promotions to talk about. First one I have is Robert Myers. He's been promoted to lieutenant with the EMS. Robert started with us part-time in 2001 and moved full-time with us in 2005. Moved up in his education and decided to become a paramedic in 2008. He's active with us. He teaches CPR, helps install car seats, serves on several different committees as well. He's been a good advocate for us in giving back to the community. He helps out get our staff involved with our PR events, such as filling the ambulance food drive that we have, and also our angel tree donations. So there's his promotion. Thank you. Okay. And then I have Ellie Durr. She was promoted to captain with us. She started with us as a paramedic in 2013, and she was promoted to a lieutenant just recently here in May of 2021. She's being promoted to C-shift captain with the retirement of Creta Liker. She's active with us, teaching CPR, helps with our clinical advancement team, and she also helps with the big task of scheduling personnel and their days off, which helps out a lot. They both are great examples of technicians that love their jobs and help give back to the community. Comments?
Congratulations to both of you.
Yes.
We appreciate your service.
Congratulations for what you guys do. Okay.
Yep. Thank you for all your years of service, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item is the Langer Industrial Edition. Adam?
Sorry, Commissioners. I wanted to tag on to the end of the promotions there to recognize a retirement. I spoke with Jackie this afternoon about that.
Okay.
Mason Reuter, Environmental Services Director. I just wanted to recognize Carla Meyer within our environmental department. She's been with the county since 2008. Been an environmental associate throughout that time and has been a wonderful employee. I'm going to miss her quite a bit. She's done a fantastic job at training me and keeping me in line. So she's been training Carrie to do the same thing because somebody needs to keep me in line, and Carla's been doing it, so I appreciate everything she's done for us, and Friday will be her last day with us before she's truly free. So thought I'd just bring her up here to recognize her that, so she's too modest to come here, so
Oh, okay, well, thank you, Mason.
thanks.
Okay, now we'll move on to the Langer Industrial Edition. Adam? Adam's not
I
here.
talked to him a little bit ago, and
Okay,
both him and Mr. Langer are supposed to be here. He was supposed to be flying in at 4 o'clock, so maybe we can just push them off later in the agenda and see if they show up to
that's
visit.
fine. Sure. We'll just move down to the next item. The Kansas Mission of Mercy, Melissa?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Melissa Dixon, Executive Director of the Hayes Convention and Visitors Bureau. I want to let you know about an event that we're very excited about that's been hosted in other cities across the state, and it's finally coming to Hayes. The Kansas Mission of Mercy is a 2-day event put on by the Kansas Dental Charitable Foundation, and they provide free dental services to those in need, no questions asked. Patients travel, and they even camp out for a place in line for what are often life-changing procedures at the Kansas Mission of Mercy, or KMOM, event. The Hayes event will take place February 18th through 19th, 2022 at the Ellis County Fairgrounds, and is expected to serve 750 patients. This year will be the 21st event, and Hayes CVB staff have been courting this group for 15 years. Most recent hosts have been Wichita, Dodge City, Hutchinson, and Salina. Historically, it takes 100 dental volunteers. Those are dentists, oral surgeons, dental hygienists, 500 general volunteers, and $160,000 to put on this event. The Kansas Dental Charitable Foundation has already been gifted $50,000 from the Schmidt Foundation and $50,000 from Delta Dental toward expenses for the Hayes event. We're currently having planning meetings every 2 weeks on Thursday nights at the Welcome Center, with the next meeting being this Thursday, December 16th. KMOM representatives are in the process of presenting to local civic groups to drum up volunteers. And the link where volunteers can register will go live on December 20th. I brought some brochures about the Hayes event for you to review, and you can also read more at ksdentalfoundation.org. I know there are probably some ways that the county can partner with KMOM, and I look forward to exploring those possibilities with county staff. I just wanted you to be aware that this is on its way to Hayes, and we're very excited about it. Do you have any questions about the event?
Yeah, Melissa, is there any limitation on services, or do they provide everything?
Everything. Extractions, they even provide services for children, but children don't have to wait in line.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So do a lot of the local dentists participate in this
Yes.
too, I guess?
They have been in our planning meetings as well, but they come from all over the state.
Wow.
And some volunteer every single year. Some even plan their vacations around that event because they just want to be there.
Good. Good job.
Okay.
It is, it's a good thing. I know my wife was a dental assistant, and there's people out there that cannot afford it, and this is great. And like we had spoke, you get something wrong with your teeth, it goes to your heart, and we could lose people, and that's not good. So thank you for staying on top of everything and getting that, and that's great.
It'll be great for our community.
Yes, it will be.
It will be.
Okay.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item is the Arpa Projects. Darren?
Mr. Prey did text me here just a few minutes ago, and they were en route from the airport, so they should be here shortly.
Okay, that's fine.
In regards to your next agenda item, the ARPA funds that the county has received, just over $5.5 million. We've been working, a couple of staff have been working with Apparatus, which is the disaster recovery consultants that we hired to help manage us through the use of the funds, to find the proper ways that we could spend it, and then spend it appropriately according to federal guidance. One of the most recent items that we had completed with them was the loss of revenue calculations. Just for clarification on what that is we were getting the roughly $5.5 million from the feds. That's being split up between 2021 and 2022, 50% each year. Of that $5.5 million, the loss of revenue calculation for 2020 itself was just at $1.1 million. So what that basically does is that splits up that $5.5 million into two different pots of what we can actually spend it for. The 1.1, there's less regulations on what it can be spent for and how it needs to be spent. Of that other remaining 4.5 million approximate figure, all has to be COVID related, tied nexus to COVID or certain criteria within the interim final rule guidelines that the federal government has established. But with that, moving forward, we've kind of identified a couple key projects to start off the discussion with in regards to how those funds can be used. As the commission knows there are several large capital projects within the county and a couple current initiatives that we're working on to move forward with. And they're all currently listed on the agenda item. And the first one to discuss is a human resources information system. As the commission is aware, for the first time in September, we hired a human resources coordinator, which is Jackie. She's sitting out there, so if you have any more specific questions on how this project directly impacts her work, she'd be more than willing to come up. But it basically creates our whole entire all of our paperwork for all of the employees, benefits, applications, evaluations, benefits enrollments, to how we communicate with employees at the beginning of their employment, all in the virtual world. It's all hosted on the cloud, and it helps manage a lot of those processes. And what it does is actually decreases the amount of contact time that employees and staff have to meet with non-employees as they start, and that's how it's actually tied to COVID. And working with that, and the way that was bid out through a government contract in Georgia, it follows what's referred to as 2 CFR Part 200. It's basically certain guidelines on how money has to be, or how projects have to be procured out and bid out for guidance or for allowable expenses within the ARPA funds, and that does meet those qualifications. So with that, we would ask that the commission allow staff to sign the contract with UKG, which is formerly known as Kronos, so we can start improving that project within the county department, which would have about a 60 to 90 day implementation, so we wouldn't actually go live until about March or April 1st. I guess I'll stop there for any first questions.
I guess I have to ask, what is the cost of that?
That was something I did not include in there. We were waiting on that final contract, and the annual agreement to that is just over $11,000 per year.
Okay.
And we would be able to pay for
the
the first 5 years.
At a cost per employee, Darren?
It's roughly $3.63 per employee for one part of the package, and then there's a 63-cent addition for the recruiting piece, and a 63-cent per employee performance evaluation piece, which does your annual evaluations and your 6-month evaluations.
And
So you do have roughly about a $5 per month per employee fee per year.
okay. And our IT department does not have to service that software?
Correct. Mike and Lori, both with IT, have been sitting in with all the meetings, and that was one of our concerns, that we didn't want to add another system or software that would require them to have more staff. They'll have to, obviously, come go live, there'll be some initial training and information that they'll have to be a part of just to learn the IT system itself, the IT side of it. But other than that, it's all cloud-based, and they won't have any hardware to have to maintain.
Mm-hmm. Is there going to be a service contract? We'll have to,
It's only the per employee per month.
okay. Okay, commissioners, any questions regarding the software?
I have
You
none.
asked my question. I was going to ask how much it was going to cost too, so you asked my question.
Well, I know you don't like service contracts.
Good old maintenance agreements that Mr. Mike Liker likes to bring it before us. Right, Mike?
The one thing I would like to add into this is kind of a step two, a phase two piece of this to create more efficiencies into the future, is we can also roll in our payroll and scheduling pieces into it. Currently, we have a third-party vendor that we would like to remove that contract, as well as the sheriff's office and EMS have a different scheduling that we pay separately as well. So we would have some future cost savings to help implement the payroll side of this that would have everything into one package, so employees would also be able to log in, see all of their benefits from their hours worked to times off, their schedules, et cetera.
Well, I think this would be a very useful addition to Ellis County. I think the department could use it. Commissioners?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, very much in favor.
Yeah. Do we need a motion on this, or are we looking at these other ones first?
Yes, I did provide a motion for that one since we're entering into a contract.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve the UKG agreement for new human resource information system and allow the county administrator to sign the agreed documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
The next item on is the HVAC system. I guess I'm not on the right agenda item, so I apologize. Scroll down here. Second item is the HVAC system at this building. Over the years, the commission is very aware that once we bought this building back in 2014, several improvements were needed to the system at that time. Different remodels that have taken place both on the first floor and the second floor have created inefficiencies within the system. Improper circulation within the building, which create zones in the building that create hot areas, as well as areas that are too cold. We have staff that put fans underneath their desks or heaters underneath their desks, which are against fire code in most situations. We have, I think it was 30 ventilation fans that are within the building that are inoperable, that don't remove the amount of air that's required, as well as doesn't bring in the fresh air ventilation from the outside. We have dampers that are not working to exhaust that air as well. The boilers are needing to be cut out and replaced, and new units that are actually up on the roof, the chillers, or the condensers up on the roof, one is out, and the other one is limping along. So it's a very large project throughout the building. We'll have to replace the types of filters that we have, so that way it can also be filtered more properly for HEPA purposes, which would make it COVID-related, as well as the ventilation piece also makes it COVID-related to make sure that we're exchanging the proper amount of air for what is required. That would come out of the COVID side of the two buckets per se of that ARPA funds that we are receiving. At this point, we've had several meetings with Mr. Glassman out at Glassman Corporation to identify, kind of do somewhat of a design build process. They spent hours, dozens of hours going through the building down here, and we've got a good set of specifications, a good list of items that need to be replaced and listed within the RFP. And at this point, we're ready to combine Mr. Glassman's documents and the suggested specifications of the required work, so that way we can release it for bid.
Okay. I know this is a very expensive project, and we're probably fortunate we have these funds to work with it. And I believe our HVAC system is just hanging on, is about the best can be to be described.
Yes, I did put in here, I don't remember the exact amount. We're spending between $20,000 and $40,000 a year, and I think last year was actually about $60,000 in repairs to the system, so it's starting to add up pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you need to start in with the request for proposals.
Definitely.
Commissioners?
I do too, because if we don't keep our employees warm or cool, it's not going to be good. Like you say, then they're going to bring heaters in. They start sweating in here in the summertime. Not only that, our community that comes in and does business in here, we need to keep them comfortable also. So, yep, I am for
We've
that.
had enough problems with it. It's time
Yeah,
to fix it.
it's-
Fix it right.
We've been Band-Aiding it, and it's time.
Well, we'll get the RFP out hopefully by the end of the week, and got to get the final copy to Mr. Jeter for review, and then hopefully by the last meeting in January, we'll have results back for us to review.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
With-
In case you wanna know.
Do you want to cancel this and move on to Mr. Prayer, or do you want to continue?
It's fine. We can.
Whatever you want to do.
I guess we shouldn't inconvenience Mr. Adam, so if we want to go back and finish up with this here in just a few more minutes, why? We'll get Adam up here and discuss the Langer. Okay, so we'll go back to the Langer Industrial Edition. Adam, come on up.
Good evening, Adam Prey, and I have Pete Langer with me here.
Morning, evening, I guess.
Pete?
So I guess at this point, Adam's been in contact with myself, Commissioner Reuter, Brendan McKay with Public Works, and I believe he's had some individual conversations with each of the commissioners. He's giving you the documents of what Mr. Langer is wanting to do out there to the southeast of town, and they're wanting to make sure that they're not forgetting anything, or if there's anything else that the commission needs or wants them to address before they start getting too deep into the project. And Mr. Langer, I guess, just flew in here this afternoon to introduce himself and kind of explain the project and answer any questions that the commission may have before they proceed any further.
Okay, but I understand that you do have more recycling centers scattered around?
We do. This would be we actually have one, more of a transfer station here in Hayes currently, but we have a full-service facility in Colby and then another one in Scottsbluff, Nebraska.
Okay, and what are you going to recycle?
We're primarily scrap metal recyclers, but we also do, like we've recently bought out a tire recycling facility. So we're basically solid waste of all kinds, whatever makes sense. We're not into municipal trash or anything along those lines. And we really, we're kind of cautious about paper, cardboard, those kind of things, because a lot of municipalities have their own recyclables or their own program for that stuff. So we do a lot of scrap metal primarily, of all kinds.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you mentioned tire recycling.
Mm-hmm.
Many years ago, we had a recycler over north of Victoria by the interstate.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a big place, just a small place. But and he did recycle tires, and he made some nice things.
Mm-hmm.
But I got complaint after complaint regarding that, and it was due to the smoke.
And the process and this is all something that has just come new to us. We're doing this in eastern Nebraska right now, and that we're cleaning up a facility that was kind of a nuisance. So we bought out the entire facility, and the process that we use doesn't involve any of that. There's no burning of, we simply process it in the same way that we process scrap metal, in that we sort, size, grade, and then dispose of whatever is left through shredding or, whatever process actually fits, primarily shredding for the tires. It's something brand new to us, not something that I ever thought we would be involved in, but bit by bit, it seems like we've been led that direction. So we're not permitted to do that in Kansas. It's certainly not something that we're looking to do right out of the gate, but we are in Nebraska cleaning up a nuisance facility. And it does look like something that, we would like to participate in the future.
Mm-hmm. And are you planning to store a lot of stuff? A lot of the
No.
The recyclables on the land, or is it going to be inside situation, or?
We do, there's some outside processing, but one of the things we do differently than most is that we're not really very good scrap metals guys, but we're pretty good commodities people. So that's kind of how we view ourselves. We bring material in, process it, prepare it for whatever final home it is, and then send it off to recycling. So we turn our inventory almost daily. There is typically a small amount of material that's a work in progress that's usually there, but rarely is the same piece of material ever there 2 days in a row. So we move a lot of volume out of these other facilities, and the piles in those locations are pretty small.
Okay, sounds good. Commissioners, do you have any other questions?
Well, I guess you're looking at putting in a railroad spur too, is that correct?
We would like to do that. It's one of the things that we would like to bring to Hayes, is to be able to offer that commercially. We need it in our business, but it sure seems to me like there are a lot of other businesses in town who could use something like that. So we would like to be able to bring that to the table as well. Very early in that process, there's a lot of engineering, especially here where there's, I understand there's some stuff kind of in the way. There's a creek we need to get across. So there's a ton of engineering work, would be an expensive addition, but it is something we'd like to explore.
As far as improvement on our end, I know that intersection just on the east side of Dryling Field Service, I mean, that's a pretty narrow intersection. I know you're gonna be using heavy trucks. John does the same thing, and I guess you've talked to Brendan a little bit about that, right, Brendan? Yes, Brendan says yes. So you want to expand on that a little bit, or I guess Brendan can, one of you can.
I'm sorry.
I'll let you go and then I
Okay.
do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, most of the improvements that we were expecting to need are improvements we expected to do ourselves. Now, the actually widening of the entrance off of, is it Canterbury there, I think? Yeah. Obviously, it's probably something that we would need some permission and guidance, how you want to handle those kind of things. But most of what we need to do, we don't want to be a burden to anybody, and I really like this piece of property for what we do. So if we need to invest a little bit in the infrastructure to get in there, I'm pretty comfortable with that.
Have you talked to your neighbors yet, like along that stretch? Have you visited with them yet?
I've talked to several.
John's here. Yep.
There. Yeah, so we've made a few phone calls and so far so good.
By comparison, our facility in Scotts Bluff is on the intersection of two pretty major streets. That's been permitted for 3 years, over 3 years, 3.5 years now, and no complaints. We have residential across the rail from us to the north. We have industrial, light industrial across the street to the south, and then again to the west. We really kind of believe in this, that good neighbors, if it's not a good fit for us or for them, then it's probably not going to be a good fit for us either. So I haven't had any complaints in the number of years that we've been there. There was one little bit of confusion about the requirement for the fencing really early on that was dealt with. And in that case, we happened to be right. So we dealt with that pretty quickly. And once we were all on the same page, matter of fact, we were considering a move from Scottsbluff to Gering, which is pretty much just the municipality's touch. And Scottsbluff was not pleased about that. So I would like to think from a good neighbor standpoint, we're doing it the right way. So
Has this been brought before the Planning and Zoning Committee?
soon.
For the city of Hayes?
Well, or for Ellis County? Does it need to go before Ellis County or just the city of Hayes?
It's my understanding, and I don't know if you guys will agree or not, James can touch on this, but it's my understanding because we're not, we're taking a road away, we're not going to create any more work for the Ellis County. We don't have to bring it before Ellis County.
Okay,
I've been wrong on that before, so that'll be up to these guys over here, but that's my understanding.
okay. When would you look at having this project completed if approved?
If approved, we would start on it right away. We'd
Okay.
start on it right away. The rail spur is again, there's a lot of engineering that goes into a rail spur where there wasn't one. So that process takes quite a bit of time. I could see that being early 2023 by the time that's completed, but we would start construction first quarter 2022.
How many employees would your facility take?
Well, we have 2 currently, and I would think we're probably going to be closer to 15 by the time it's fully operational.
Okay,
So it's, when we moved into Scotts Bluff, I promised 10 within 5 years, and we're 25 within 2 years. So we were able to, we grew pretty quickly. And I honestly believe that this community and this county, we would grow that quickly or more. So I could honestly see this being kind of our capstone more so than that Scotts Bluff facility.
is the public going to be able to bring recyclables directly to you?
Yes. Yep, we do. So we cover that portion of our business. We also cover, we have container services. We do, on-site processing for others. We really are full service when it comes to that.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Neal, any questions?
I have taken stuff up there already, and hats off to you, whoever you've got running that,
Pleasant experience. That's,
has that place clean.
yes.
If that's an example of what you're gonna do here, yes, and there is one concern, and I had talked to Adam about that. We do have a high-pressure gas line that goes through there, so we'll have to address that when you bring the rail in. 'Cause
Yeah.
you're gonna be crossing it somewhere.
And we defer to the engineers on those kind of things because they're They're far more knowledgeable than I am. So if they tell you put it in 2 feet of concrete, I just say, okay, 2 feet it is. So, but yeah, he really is he's done a phenomenal job. He's the right choice for what we're doing here and, you know, for kind of how we operate those other facilities, pretty similar. Inventory levels fluctuate, so at times there is a little bit of a pile, but it goes away quickly. We move a lot of scrap every day.
Okay.
So you're going to come in on the road that goes by Dryling Field Service and J Corp.
10th Street, I believe. Yep.
10th, and then on where it turns into, basically where the blacktop ends, that's the part that we're going to vacate, or you'd like to have vacated.
That's what I would like, yep.
Yep. That's what I understood. I've drove out there a couple times, just making sure we're on the same page.
So some of this, and I'm glad to see the city people out in the audience. When we do our alley cleanup, is a lot of that going to get processed through you guys when you get up and going?
I would sure hope so.
Okay.
We would like to earn that business. Yeah, that is, and those are the things that we do. And we process that material. Some items have to be sent on to larger facilities for further processing, but about 60% of what we handle goes direct to steel mills. So that's one of the reasons why this rail line, being adjacent to rail here and the ability to bring that in over time is pretty critical to our business. But we send prepared products all over the world, really.
Good.
I don't know what your guys' thought is, but, you know, if this can happen, then I'm in game and helping out on,
Oh, yeah.
you know, the approaches and, you know, like I say, just as long as it's always forgotten all the time to get a hold of all the people there and just see what their thoughts are. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I did speak with Toby the other day on the phone, and he informed me some more from the city side, so thank you, Toby, for doing that, and their blessing on it too. So, no, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah,
Piece of property down there that just kind of sits down there, and if you can put it to use, great.
We sure
absolutely.
think we will.
Yeah.
So,
Look
deal.
forward to working with you.
yeah, I'm excited. I think it's a facility that we'll both be able to be proud of.
Mhm.
So I'm
Good.
excited. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Adam? Okay, we'll go back to the ARPA funds, and I believe we were ready to look at the vans.
So the next section on here is to talk about using some of the funds for transport vans for the sheriff. Sheriff Brown is here if you have any questions directly related to him. But basically, the thought with the vehicles is the current vehicle fleet that they have to transport out-of-county inmates are becoming older, and they're becoming highly about ready to be miled out anyway, so they're going to have to be replaced. When we started looking at replacing them, they're having at least a 12 to 16 month lead time on a new vehicle. If he can get available, if we can get a vendor to give us a quote. The sheriff did find, I believe, one that is used, so we might be able to, if we have permission to release the RFP, we could put out a kind of a two-part RFP that the vendors could either give us a quote for a brand-new vehicle or a lightly used with certain specifications, and we could purchase either new or used, and this bucket this purchase would come out of the loss of revenue part of the funds that we had received. There is a tie to COVID, however, the tie to COVID is the inmate population has to be reduced in the jail from, I believe, 72 down to 56-ish. And with that, because we're having to quarantine and isolate inmates as they come in or come out or get sick of the jail, we're having to house more inmates out of county. And then once we start releasing the restrictions, not that we have, but throughout the state and the courts and the corrections, and they all start doing more testing, that the jail inmate population could start increasing, and he's not going to have the sufficient room, so we're going to have to house more out of county, which would then start being used on those vans a lot more often. And with that, it would just be basically to put the RFP together with listing those two options and try to get something back to the commission by next month.
Well, I know we've been transporting inmates for a long, long time. And I know we wear out vans, so we probably need vans. And, I'm in favor of putting together the RFPs.
The next item is the jail control system, and what the jail control system is it's basically the central control system for the jail. Sorry, just a reword of words there, but what it does is it's a computer system that controls all of the doors, the intercoms, the cameras, and everything that the central system within the jail uses to operate. Since we're using additional cells and rooms to isolate and quarantine, those weren't identified in the remodel as having those systems on there. So it was basically expanding that jail control system out and then updating the main computer and the hardware equipment, because it's also past end of life and the sheriff is having trouble replacing some of that equipment already. It's starting to fail, which would not be acceptable in the jail. So with that would, because of its actual direct response to COVID and how it's being related to having to quarantine and isolate inmates into areas in the jail other than what is normal, this would be able to be used out of the COVID piece of the ARPA funds.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's a necessary piece of equipment to do that. A little bit concerned that some of this we're using up there is already at end of life. That jail hasn't been in service that long. I know the last year I worked here, it was really newly operating then. So that seems to be a short life cycle on some of this.
That I couldn't speak much to. I might let the sheriff
Scott,
address
is
that one.
that stuff from that company from Arkansas that we contracted with? Weren't they from Arkansas? That was super tough to work with, and
Yeah, they're actually out of Florida and out of
yeah, that's right.
out of Kentucky. Those were the two. So they were part of the people came out of Florida, and then the other part were out of Kentucky. So the reason for that is because it runs 365. 24 hours a day. We've had some problems with it going down on us. We've been able to bring it back to life. Part of the other things, some touch screens and things of that nature, are probably getting at the end of their life. With the addition of those additional things, such as Darren was speaking about, in doing that, it adds to our system, and so it's limiting our. We only have so much room in there to use it, and so we need to increase some of that storage and those types of things to ensure that we're keeping that information and it's functional. We've been fortunate that the IT department has helped us out, but that's another beast. They have done a great job for us, and more importantly, it's important we get somebody on board that can build that system and make sure that we're getting that routine maintenance and keeping that up. That's our heartbeat up there. So
Absolutely.
So I hope I explained to you guys what the issue is. So yes, it does seem like we just did it, doesn't it? But anyway, if we could entertain that would be awesome. I think.
Commissioners, questions, concerns?
It's a need.
It is a
It's a
need.
need.
I know, working with Sheriff Harbin at the time, and Scott was on that committee too. It was dealing with some folks out of Florida was very difficult, I guess is the best way to put it. It was a three-ring circus. Things would go down, and every time they come up here, I believe it was $1,000 charge just for them to come up here, and they weren't very good to work with, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay, well, I guess get an RFP for that too.
I will add, I forgot to mention that there is a possibility when the sheriff attended the Kansas Sheriff Association meeting, he had a vendor that was identified to him that has a state contract for, I believe, different counties and prisons within the state that might be able to do something off a governmental contract, which would save money and save the process of going out for an RFP. So as soon as we get some more information on that, we can bring that back to the commission as well.
Okay. Chair
Next.
replacement.
Yep, the next item is chair replacement, and this may seem like a very small item. The main reason this is in here is, as you can see, all the chairs that are out in the commission chambers, the ones that are upstairs in the treasury, and several chairs throughout the different county facilities are very old, and they're unable to necessarily be easily cleaned. And there are several departments that are willing to pay for this project out of their regular budgets here at the year end if it wasn't approved, so that's why it was on the agenda. If they had some extra budget room to pay for it, they would. But it was originally put on here as a COVID-related expense because the chairs needing to be cleaned and disinfected potentially after different usage or contamination from the COVID virus.
Well, I know it sounds kind of awkward, but I know there's other agencies in Ellis County that are replacing chairs too, just so they can clean them. Cloth chairs are not easily cleaned, if at all, when you're talking about the virus, things like that. In addition, I know just from my work in the health department, there were times we had a child sitting in a chair that soiled the chair through a diaper. Those don't get cleaned very easy. So I think it's a good move if we could do it. Commissioners, what are your thoughts?
I'm for that.
Okay.
And just for a price tag on this, I did get with, I believe there's 5 or 6 different departments that this impacts, and the price range for this is right at $11,000.
Okay.
The biggest purchase is the chairs in the commission chambers, as well as in the lobby area for the treasury upstairs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's move on it.
Next
Okay.
item is the self-contained breathing apparatus for the Ellis County Fire Department. Current apparatus that we have are roughly 10 years old. They're not all that old. However, the company that, when they were purchased back in 2013, they've already lost their NFPA and NIOSH certifications for the SBBA. We're getting very long times to get them replaced and sent in and repaired, and we can't buy additional parts anymore. And working with the Hayes Fire Department, they're also on the potential process of getting ready to order them as well. I believe their goal is sometime in December to have an RFP put together. So if we could work together, I believe they're looking at about 32 air packs. We need at 38, but you also need to look at spare bottles, all the spare masks. Then you have what are called RIT packs, which are rapid intervention teams. That's for in an emergency type situation. But we figured if we could work on this jointly together, that buying 70 air packs instead of individually 30, we might be able to get a higher volume discount and save money. The one thing I haven't visited with the city yet is the RFP that has been sent to us from iParametrics that meets all the federal guidance is 25 pages. So I want to make sure that the RFP that we have to use would work with theirs, so that way we can still put something together. And that's probably the first time Toby's hearing about it too, because we just got the RFP back late last week. So I still need to visit with them. But this, unfortunately, because it's not a direct response to COVID, this would come out of the loss of revenue calculation.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's necessary. If we need that kind of a safety equipment for the fire department, we need to get it.
This would also put the city of Hayes, Ellis County, and the city of Victoria all using the same air packs.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, 3 years ago, the city of Ellis bought Scott air packs, brand new air packs. So at least 3 of the 4 would be interchangeably in between if
Sure.
something were to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good deal. Glad you're working with the city and Victoria on this. This is a good deal. Thanks for doing that.
Okay. The hair follicle testing machine.
This is another one of those items. This is a very small item. I think one of the smallest one on the list. Roughly $4,700, but this is a testing machine that the courts have in-house. We've had it up at the courthouse now for probably 2 or 3 months, and it's been in use. The community corrections are using it. The courts are using it, but it's basically a hair follicle test that can be able to test after 28 days what's in somebody's system. It also has the ability to order additional test kits that we can do mouth swabs as well as urine tests, which we could significantly reduce drug screening for new employees, for the sheriff's office, for the fire department, I believe from $50 a test all the way down to $4, I believe, for the urine tests. And it's also something that once we get in stock, or once we have all the samples in stock that you test with, we could put it out at the health department, and we could use that as a revenue generator for the county. I believe the hair follicle test kits individually were about $40 a piece, but I know some of the courts were sending them out of county, and they were getting charged $500 to $600 a test. So it's something that we could use in the future as well. This is an item that the county attorney felt strongly about, that if the commission would not allow this as an ARPA fund, that he would pay for this out of his budget. remaining budget authority for 2021 as well. But we had it listed in here, and since it kind of impacts multiple departments as well as to the community itself, we left it in here for commission approval.
Well, I know with the hair follicle testing, it gives a good history of drug use. It's just not for yesterday or the day before or earlier this week. It's a good history. So those involved can tell if someone has been cheating and using drugs and when they shouldn't have been. I think it'd be a worthwhile investment.
Me too.
Commissioner?
In favor of it.
Commissioner Neal?
Yep, me too.
Like it's working already, so yeah.
With that, I believe that is the last of the topics for any of the ARPA funds, unless the commission had anything else to discuss that they,
I don't. Commissioner
No,
Dean?
I was with Darren with one other issue on another deal, but that'll go down the road another time when we get more information.
okay.
Okay, the Northwest Kansas Homeland Security appointment. Darren?
Some of the commission may remember there is usually an appointment every 2 years from the county commission for someone in Ellis County to be appointed by the county commissioners to represent Ellis County on the Northwest Kansas Homeland Security Council. Currently, myself, I'm appointed by KEMA, which is the Kansas Emergency Management Association. The sheriff is appointed by the Kansas Sheriff's Association. The Fort Hays Police Chief is appointed by the Kansas Police Chiefs. And then we have, which was currently Jason Kennedy as the Ellis County representative. With Jason leaving, it kind of brought a little change. So our suggested appointment from Ellis County would be myself, as I currently sit on the board and I'm the secretary for the Northwest Kansas Homeland Security Council, and then Lyle has been appointed as the regional KEMA representative for emergency managers. So it's a 2-year term, and every 2 years, if I'm still here in 2 years, we'll be asking for maybe another reappointment, at least myself or somebody else. Maybe Bobby will like to do it.
You know how you do that? You just appoint her now and you don't have to worry about it, see?
We'll wait 2 years.
We'd probably second it, or, you know, whatever.
I will say it's brought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment into Ellis County. We've got the regional rescue truck and trailer that's got probably over more than $250,000. Just showing Commissioner Hazelhorst this morning, I recently got a $50,000 grant for a water supply trailer for wildland fires, and they've additionally funded, hopefully next month with approval, another $50,000 for a new pickup. The merge team for the EMS Association, they've got many merge trailers strategically placed throughout our area for mass casualty incidents. The sheriff has got a thermal imaging camera. I don't know if it's still in service. It's kind of an older one. We've got the fit test machine that we fit test our firefighters with our SCBAs. That was a $20,000 machine, so it's very beneficial for the county. Even the SSRT team last year, which is a Special Situations Response Team for the City of Hays, they received $20-some thousand for ballistic vests, I believe, and some gas masks as well. So over the years, it's been very, very beneficial that we have good representation on that board.
Okay. Commissioners, concerns, questions?
Not at all.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move to appoint Darren Myers to represent Ellis County on the Northwest Kansas Homeland Security Council for the 2022-2024 team.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Okay, the 2021 year-end transfers.
As you can see, there are several transfers on the spreadsheet that's attached to the agenda. The top half is usually what's included within the budgeted transfers for the year, and the bottom half of that spreadsheet are the departmental transfers. At first, I'll go over the budgeted transfers that we have within the county, as well as some recommended transfers that we do and don't make. For Public Works, we have a scheduled $15,000 transfer to their capital equipment reserves. The health sales tax, healthcare sales tax allowed $175,000. That's budgeted each year now for EMS to be transferred for their capital reserves to help pay for future ambulances and medical equipment. The elections department had put in a $2,500 to start putting away money for future capital expenses for elections. The communications department has $33,000. It's kind of been reduced over the years, but we put that away for future investments within the dispatch center down at the law enforcement center. My phone. We do have a different type of transfer this year in the amount of $21,072. The sheriff had received a insurance reimbursement check that I incorrectly told them to deposit in one fund, and so they deposited it within their general fund, and it could have actually been put into their capital reserve fund. So there's an additional transfer of that $21,072 to reimburse the sheriff's expense that was originally paid for out of their capital fund. Department 97 has several usual budgeted transfers. We had $329,000 this year that goes to the special road fund. As you remember, next year that's actually being increased to $400,000 each, for one for the road and one for the bridge fund. So that's going to significantly help road and bridge. And then we annually transfer $20,000 as well to the equipment reserve fund. That's Fund 16, and that just kind of goes in there as a somewhat of a buffer in case the department goes over or under, and then after that builds up, we disperse that out. I believe the last couple of years that was split between Public Works, Sheriff, and IT. We have a $200,000 transfer to Fund 6, which is the capital improvement fund that pays for building infrastructure like HVAC or the new Public Works shop. 3 new transfers this year, thankfully, are the health sales tax. One of $1.2 million that goes to increase the revenues for EMS. We have a $268,000 transfer that goes to the health department, and that is the remaining. That I will point out that $268,000 basically takes the combination of that as well as their other grants that they receive, and the health department is still funded solely by grants for sales tax and not off county property tax. And then we also have a $25,000 transfer in Department 97 that helps fund the increase that the commission approved to the High Plains Mental Health Center. $34,000 transfer, this is the general sales tax, this is not the health care. The $34,000 to help increase the other subsidy requests that were sent out for non-health related increases for the 2021 budget. The biggest one on here is a $2 million transfer. This one goes into Fund 6, which is to help pay for the future public works shop once we get to that point. With that and current savings that we have is almost enough to pay for the new shop for our initial estimates. So by the time we actually get to that point, we should be able to pay for that in cash. The last one, which is already commission approved, but we will be closing out the old benefits fund, which was identified as the risk management fund, and we will be combining that with the current benefits fund that we have with the insurance that we started this year to help fund that partially self-funded portion of the employee health insurance. With that, that's roughly $4.8 million that we're requesting to transfer. The only item that's not listed that I said that we would visit about would be the oil and depletion that we have, or the trust fund that we have. Have it in there every year is a $200,000 transfer. That way, in case revenues become in lower than anticipated, we have a little bit of buffer to offset some of those decreased revenues. However, revenues, they're looking at being around 105%, so just over what we anticipated. So I would suggest not making that transfer and keeping that $200,000 in the oil depletion fund for a future year.
Sounds good.
With all those numbers, is there any questions before I move on to the second half?
I have none.
I have none.
The second half is just a whole bunch more numbers. I won't go through them individually, but those basically break down by policy what is anticipated remaining budget authority for each department we have within the county. Say, for instance, I'll just go off the first line item. The appraiser's office is roughly $120,000 under budget this year, 50% of that gives her that $60,000. 50% of what's left is anticipated would be then transferred with the permission of no more than $60,948 to the appraiser's Fund 16 account, their capital equipment reserve fund. That is an estimate. Most likely, the funds will actually be lower than that as they identify any year-end expenditures. Obviously, the November and December months have higher salary rates because of the holidays and such, but most likely this will always be lower than what the estimates are. But those go throughout all the different departments, and it totals up to be just over $983,000, which is just a little bit more than we transferred last year for each of the departments. The only thing that I would not list down there at the bottom, which is listed, the fire district is roughly going to be $61,000 under budget. I have it listed that we could transfer $31,000 to reserves. I would suggest that we do not. That way we continue to build the fire district's reserve balance. Just as a reminder to the commission, the fire district is a completely separate fund than the general fund. And if we build that unencumbered cash in the future, as the variations of oil in the county are highly dependable, they're even more dependable on the fire district's budget. So when the oil prices decrease, it has a more significant, actually almost 4 times more of an impact on the fire district. So I'd like to build those funds back up to prepare for the future. But overall, when you look at the entire county, we're roughly transferring almost $6 million into reserves, which is very good and something that we should be proud of.
We haven't done that for a long time.
Yeah.
Not that much.
Commissioners, any questions, concerns?
I think Darren did a great job.
Excellent job. Thank you.
It's more the department heads that on track with their spending. I know some of those have been with the workforce challenges that we have throughout the years of being able to get somebody hired back in right away and filled back in with a little bit of turnover. But that's probably the biggest reasons why most of the budgets are more under than what they normally are.
Okay, with that being said, I move to authorize the county administrator to make the 2021 year-end transfers as listed on the attached spreadsheet.
Second, or go ahead, Neil.
Go ahead.
One of us, put one of us down, Bobby, whoever you want to choose.
Teeny, meeny, miny, moe.
Sure.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Okay. County Administrator report, Darren.
Just have one quick thing. We received an invoice from the Kansas League of Municipalities for our annual membership. It's roughly $10,000 or $1,065. We have paid this in the past. It's kind of been one of those items that have been on and off again. And we did pay it in 2021. We did not pay it in 2020. And I was just asking, this does come out of the commissioner's budget and making sure that the commission wants to continue that membership.
Okay.
I think we should, commissioners. I just think it's a good voice for us and to be part of that. I think it's a good thing to be part of.
I agree.
I do too.
I'll get it paid. That's all I have.
Okay. County Commissioner reports. Commissioner Dean.
KAC meeting in Topeka, 10 o'clock Wednesday morning. So I'll be going down there. We're actually, one of the agenda items already on there is for the KAC convention membership meeting that we had back in November. That's already on the agenda item for now of some changes that we're going to look at doing. I think it's going to be some really neat changes to get more counties involved. We still don't have all the counties involved in that organization, so we're looking at doing some different things and changing some things with the vendor fair. Same hours, just different sponsorships, so it doesn't look like one sponsor has sponsored it for the past 50 years and kicked in all the big money. They have decided to try to get some of these other vendors involved, so it doesn't look like they pick up the tab every year. So that's going to be a big change with that. So, yep, we're going to start talking about that already Wednesday. So,
Okay.
for next November.
Commissioner
That's about
Neal.
Yes, I did last Thursday attend the Northwest Kansas Correction, something that this was on with the drug testing, so it all kind of hit. And I think they were going to send you all the meeting stuff so we can kind of show the public that we are involved in helping and show some concern for our community, so. They are
received it yet, but I'll send it out if I do get it, the
Okay,
minutes to the
and I
commission.
told her it's probably too late for this week's agenda, but Becky will hopefully get it to you, so. They are looking at, and that's, I was hoping we were gonna have it, but maybe next week. They are looking at someone putting up a building for them, which would be good, and it's pretty close to their location now, and just for the safety of all their employees, it's just, like right now, you can walk in there and, but yeah, it was a good meeting, so that's all I have.
Okay, and I have no report this week. Executive sessions.
I moved that the Board of County Commissioners recess for an executive session of 15 minutes. Personal matters, Bill Jeter, Scott Brown, Darren Myers. Commissioners.
Okay, I'll second that motion. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
For some reason, the cookies got moved. Did you notice that?
20 minutes.
Okay.
I move to the Board of County Commissioners to recess for an executive session for 20 minutes on a land acquisition. People involved, Bill Jeter, Brenda McKee, Darren Myers, Butch Schleier, and Neil Younger.
I'll second that motion.
We ran late, Bobby. 3 minutes?
Okay, there's no action, and the meeting will adjourn at 6:46.
Bunch 647 on my phone.